This video is really going to be focused on what to do before you even start the form. It's some fundamentals with structure that are really important moving into the form. When we practice the form, if you don't have the right structure, nothing is really connected when you move. If you're doing push hands or any kind of partner work or free sparring even, if you don't have the proper structure, nothing really works. You can't develop power. You can't take incoming force and deal with that properly. So we need proper structure before we even begin. And that's what this video is going to be. So we're going to start with two positions today. The first position is going to be really a high horse stance or horse riding stance. If you think of the term horse riding stance, if you picture a person on a horse, right? This is kind of the position they're in, right? Their legs are open, knees are pushed out to accommodate that arch of the horse's back. So we're going to start in a high horse stance. There are lower horse stances, more traditional horse stances in Taiji, not in this particular form. We're not covering those today. So I want you to start with your feet kind of natural, about shoulder width. Now, usually when I tell people shoulder width, they go like this. My shoulders aren't that wide. So just a nice, comfortable position. We don't want to push our feet in or turn our feet out. We just want them to fall where they naturally fall. From here, the knees are going to pull upward. Now, when I say they're going to pull upward, there's a couple requirements first. Very top of the head. There's an acupuncture point called Baihui. It means 100 meetings. I want you to pull that to the ceiling. You should feel your cervical spine just gently start to open. Don't make it tight. Don't give yourself a headache or anything. Just gently open your cervical spine. From there, there's another point called Huiyin. To activate Huiyin, it's kind of at the base of our perineum. What we're going to do is go to the tailbone, the coccyx, and pull it straight to the ground. And as we pull it straight to the ground, I actually want you to shift your weight back slightly. In the beginning, it's going to feel like you're on your heels mostly. That's okay for now. Where you start in the beginning is not always where you end up. Sometimes you go through some things that feel a little awkward to get to the place where bodies will do things correctly later down the road. So for now, I want you to pull the base of your tailbone down just behind your heels. And you feel like you're hanging from that top point on the top of the head Baihui. The spine is hanging down like a string of pearls. And the tailbone is being pulled to the ground. If you pull the tip of your tailbone straight down, it's going to give you a slight tucking action. So from the side, it's going to look like this. So top of the head, pull straight up. Base of the tailbone pulls down, just behind the heels. You'll notice that flattens out the low back. Now, I'm not doing that, right? It's just flattening out the low back. Top of the head's up, spine's down, shoulders at rest. For now, we'll just gently put our hands kind of just gently in front of our body, as if we're carrying 2 bags of groceries or something. And this is our basic structure. Now, when I said we pull the knees up, what I meant by that was if I'm still pulling up at the top of my head and I try to pick my knees up, it actually pulls my body down, right? So if I push my feet into the ground, it pushes my body up. If I pick my knees up, it pulls my body down. So if I'm suspended from here, and I try to pick my knees up, it pulls my body down. Also, if I'm pulling my knees up, I can't stand like this. My knees automatically line up. So I don't want to think if I do have a natural like cave-in or a natural bow, I don't want to think about pushing them in or out. I simply want to pick them up. And if I pick them up, they're going to align in the direction of the toes. Knees should always, always, always point in the direction of the toes. So this is our basic feet together, horse stance structure. I know there's going to be some traditional people out there saying this isn't a horse stance. For now, it's a horse stance. It actually is. It's a high horse stance. Okay, from here, let's talk about a gung stance, or a bow stance, or a bow drawing stance, or a bow and arrow stance, however you want to translate it. Gung stance. So bow stance, if we just shift and we open up, and we step out, and come to here. This is the bow stance. So you'll notice my feet are still shoulder width apart. I did not step out this way, narrow. The feet should remain shoulder width apart. When I'm back in this position, my heel, my hip, and the top of my head all kind of create this kind of stable line, right? There's weight going from here all the way down to that foot. My hips, or my gua, is open, and it's kind of sitting at an angle. It's sitting in the direction of my heels. So my heel and my heel, my hips line up there. When I shift forward, so now I'm forward in the stance, I don't lock this leg, never lock a joint in Tai Chi. This knee does not protrude past the toe. This knee does not collapse out of the direction of this toe, right? It stays engaged in the direction of that toe, and I'm shoulder width. So back, my hip turns. I continue looking forward. This is where my opponent would be. Then when I shift, I'm forward. So you're going to be able to see this next part a little easier from the side. So we'll look at it from the side for a moment. So again, I shift, open up. You'll note that my hips are turned. I'm not sticking out. If I'm like this, I'm probably lower than my body's able to go. Okay. So my back still needs to have that flat shape we talked about. Tailbone still pulling to the floor. Back way still pulling up. Okay. Now when I shift forward, you'll notice something. I'm not here. I'm here. There's a line from the heel to the hip to the top of my head. If I was to naturally push something that was really heavy, this is the position I'd be in. I often like the analogy of pushing a refrigerator. If you drop something behind your refrigerator, you have to get it out. Having never taken a Tai Chi class before, you'd walk up to it in this position and you'd give it a push. You'd do a perfect Tai Chi push, having never done any Tai Chi. So from here, again, this knee's not collapsed. This knee's not too far forward. I'm not straight up and down. If I'm straight up and down, that puts tension on my low back, especially if incoming force is being handled here. I'm going to go back, right? So here. When I go back, I'm straight up and down. Technically, my shoulders should be just barely in front of my hips. I never want to get caught here. So here. My chest should be relaxed. My spine is engaged, and that keeps my posture. So there's a line, a connection from my heel all the way up my back to the top of my head and around. And I can put my hands wherever I want. For now, we'll just keep them on the hips. All right. So let's grab this stance again, starting in this position, this high horse stance, knees pull up, top of the head towards the sky, tailbone and perineum pulled towards the ground, flattening the low back. Shoulders are relaxed. Don't want to be up here. Shoulders are just nice and relaxed. Open those armpits a little bit. And this time we'll shift to the other side. Open up. Step forward and square up the hips. So square. If we come back, hips are in the direction of the heels. Forward. Knee doesn't cave in. Knee doesn't go too far forward. And back. Let's look at it from the side. So from here, you can open up, step over, and back. So this has been an introduction to 2 basic positions. I really recommend that before you even start the form, you practice this. You see how well you can go before you start deviating one way or the other, right? You go down, get into a good position, and you just practice kind of opening up, stepping out, seeing what this position feels like, seeing how it is. Now I'm not over here, right? I'm still centered in my weight. Bring it back. Practice kind of doing it on different feet, seeing what it feels like with a different side forward. Try going back and forth a few times. And just play with it. The entirety of the form, with few exceptions, is moving between different positions of this stance with some closing, opening, to another bow stance, and through the whole form we're moving through these positions. If you can make them second nature, the form will go a lot smoother. It'll be a lot easier for you. The sooner that these things are just second nature and easy and you don't have to think about them, the easier it is going to be to concentrate on what each movement of the form is all about. This has been Dr. Mark Parzynski. Thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you in the next video.